Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Woman Crush Wednesday. I am really excited to have our guest on today. Some of y'all may have heard of Hex 19. He is a staple in this community, real cool dude, and his daughter, Redbird 1, is just real bright and has been really just instrument. I mean, like I got to meet her in Vegas and just a wonderful personality. So I have brought her on here to learn just a little bit more about her and her journey. I feel like a lot of people kind of know about her dad and like what he went through with, the things happening with Hex and his wallet and, that whole story. But really excited to just kind of learn more about her and, her background and what she's doing and where she's going. So without further ado, I bring to you Redbird. Welcome to Woman Crush Wednesday. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry if I sound a little rough and if I'm a little bit deaf, recovering from COVID. So
it is a beast. I mean, I guess it kind of depends. To me, it seems like it depends on your overall health. Like if you're kind of relatively healthy, like I had it once and it was all right. I was like, I made it.
Yeah, it hit me hard and quick, and now I seem to be on the other side of it, which is great because like the fever came on like in the small hours of Monday. So I mean, it's only Wednesday. So that's and I'm here able to, to do this. And I was able to keep working throughout it. That was not fun on Monday. But, by today, like we were doing, things were moving along much better.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, hopefully it passes real quick and then you get better soon. I'm looking at my connection. It's like a little spotty. Let me know, y'all, if like the connection is not working too well. I was kind of checking out our stream, and it looks like I'm a little fuzzy, but hopefully it's gonna be all right. Oh, Fashion Coder, hello. I guess I got too excited. This is Woman Crush Wednesday. You get stoked about the women who show up, but also to the dudes. What's up, Jen Hex? Hello, Craig. Thanks for being here. Thoughts Child, good to have you. Glad you guys are here. Ben Lopez, hello and welcome. Oh, Lindsay the Hexakin. Thanks for coming. Thanks. I'm glad we don't look fuzzy. At least not, with my fuzzy hat. Like I'm not trying to be fuzzy on purpose right now. Speaking of fuzzy, this one, I just heard her crying in the background. Oh God.
Oh.
Sure, her paw is stuck on my green screen. Come here, darling. Hi.
Oh, yes.
This is my fuzzy woman crush.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's 15.
Baby.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that face. Oh.
Okay,
pretty
you go.
Right, 15.
Yeah. No, she's doing really well. She had a thyroid issue for a little while. And I broke down and ended up there's an iodine therapy. It's like a iodine radiation thing that they do. And so she was actually radioactive for like a month. So we had to they kept her in a kennel for I think a week or two. And then when she came home, we had to have her sleep in a different room. And like slowly over time, you could be near her. But like they said, don't let her sleep near you or on you for the first like month. So, her name is Princess Sophia Bailey McIntyre. But we call her Sophia. Yeah. Oh, I see. That's good to know. I figured. Yeah. No, she is great. What's up, Chris? Good to see you. Getting the biceps, doing that crypto fitness challenge. Awesome. Go get it. She is the floofiest floofs. Chris has seen the floof in person. He's a good friend of mine. Sweet. So let's get started. And thanks again to everyone who's here, and thanks to everyone on the replay. It seems like we got a lot of other streamers going on right now, so it's all good. It's all good. Oh, look at there's Dad. Hex 19. Hi, Dad. Yay! Awesome.
That's all good.
So
I'm
yeah.
new to this. I don't need like everyone looking at me live all the time. Like it's okay.
Yeah, for
You look
sure,
at the
for
whales and
sure.
you can come back and look later if you're interested. It's all good.
Awesome. Oh, and mom's there too. Hi, Dad and
Oh, of course. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
mom. Awesome. So yeah, let's just get into it. The first question is, how did you find Hex, or how did you find Hex? How did you get into crypto? What's your origin story for this community here?
Story. I love that. Yeah. So, well, all roads lead to Rome. And in this case, most of my financial conversations lead back to Dad. So,
Mm,
ever since I was a little kid, Dad and I have been talking about finance. That wasn't his career, but it was his hobby. It ended up being my career, which is fascinating. But ever since I was a kid, we were talking about finance, monetary history. So, at a young age, and even now, it's not the knowledge base I have about monetary history, like, that isn't required for what I do for a living. Like, I don't have to know what I know. It certainly comes in handy. It comes in very handy, especially when I'm presenting, which I have to do regularly, reports and whatnot. So that knowledge base, when I'm presenting to the board of directors or the executive team, really helps, but it's not a requirement. It's just something fun that Dad and I have been doing together since I was very small. So my journey into crypto began with him. Like, I was aware of it,
mhm.
but it was outside my day to day, and my day to day at the time was, a full time job and two small kids. Um, so not a lot of time to invest in, reading white papers or whatever.
Right.
Meantime, Dad's retired doing exactly all of that. So somewhere around 2018, I was visiting him, and the kids weren't with me on that trip. And we just spent like, probably a day and a half just talking crypto. What is it? What's its use? Going forward, what's out there right now, and use case and utility is very important to me when I think about crypto. Meme coins are fun, but they're
Hmm.
not very interesting to me.
Right.
Um, I think of it like tools in a toolbox, or when Dad and I first had the conversation, I used the whole, vehicles. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to take a skateboard across country, and I'm not going to take a Learjet to the grocery store, so you need a different vehicle. So it makes sense that you're going to have,
Mm,
it's not just going to be Bitcoin. Of course, it's going to be
right.
same, variety that I have in my work life, in my legacy finance world. I would fully expect to see developing out of this. Um, so that was my introduction into crypto, and that was about 2 years before um, we started talking about Hex. It was on Dad's radar, but like, he wasn't really
Gotcha.
by name. It was still being fleshed out,
Hmm.
because he was there for the time, you know, he was learning about the project at the same time it was being built, or the product, I
Okay.
should say. Hex is a product. Um, so that came on my radar right before a big payday. And then it
Okay.
was,
Wow.
and then I forgot about it. I could just,
Ah,
okay,
yeah.
okay, let's see, there was no
Yeah.
expectations. There was no, track record for, the Richard Hart project. He was obviously someone known, very well in the crypto community, but like, Hex didn't exist yet. Hex is 100% up to all the things we talk about now when we're onboarding. None of that existed back then.
Right.
So, it was one of those things where, kind of like with most other, cryptos, my not financial advice, but put in what you can afford to lose and see where it
Mm,
goes.
hmm.
So yeah, so that was my
Awesome.
introduction to crypto and Hex.
So I'm actually going to ask, I'm going to catch you off guard maybe, but there's another question that I want to ask you specifically because I also, in a very like apples to oranges kind of way, came into Hex through the finance, like fiat finance world. And the reason Hex made sense to me, and the reason I felt like I was so willing to, gamble whatever I did into it, was because I had just started to understand the stock market, and I had been taking an options trading class, and I was looking for somewhere to put my money, and I wanted to have that value. And I was like, I want my money to go to work for me. So what I want to know for you is how did you see that happen? Right? Like being someone who was in the financial world already and then looking at this crypto stuff and being like, okay, like how did you make the connection, or like what was it that, made you say, yes, this is worth gambling that money, and this is worth, like, you know what I mean? Because I feel like you'd be really good at explaining that. Does the question make
Yeah,
sense? Okay.
it 100%. And so the options trading, that's exactly like, how can you get your money to work for you? You know, how to accumulate assets and how to keep those assets and get them to work for you rather than, selling assets to pay for your living expenses. Don't do that. Not financial advice.
Right.
So, my situation was kind of similar. I had I had a rental property, and it wasn't, it was kind of, it had been a home and it became a rental property because I moved away from it. Um, and so it just wasn't, for me, real estate at that time and even now just isn't a great fit for me as one of those, quote unquote, passive income vehicles. And personally, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
find it to be very passive. I know people who've done options trading that had the same problem. It's not
Yep.
passive. You have to work your butt
No.
off. So, tenants rolling over and the toilets would break. And in fact, when I've been in spaces, I had, tenants like broke the toilet and flooded the house. And then I'm at work dealing with an insurance claim. And it was just, this wasn't, there was nothing passive about it. And it was really stressful because I wasn't in close proximity to it anymore. I didn't have critical mass to have a management company. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't a good vehicle. And I was looking for, you know, I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew it wasn't that. I knew I wanted something to do what that was supposed to do, what all of the financial gurus will tell you real estate's supposed to do, and it wasn't doing it for me.
Yep.
And again, that's just me and my lifestyle. I've lived all over the country. I like moving around. I like exploring new places. So, again, having that type of asset isn't necessarily ideal for somebody who likes to bounce around. So, in comes Hex, and I get t-shirts, uh, which are, they don't forget to pay the rent. They don't break
Right.
they don't break the toilet. They do, you know,
I'm just
and
picturing a house full of little T-shares like sitting around.
I
I
love
love
that
it.
vision. Absolutely. So, I mean, it was like, it's like when you have that, and I've had this when I moved to certain places in my life, you have that Goldilocks moment. Like, in this place
Mm-hmm.
is too big, and this place is too small, and this place is just right. And that's how Hex felt, with the
Mm.
time lock mechanism of, ensuring that, I wouldn't get starry-eyed about appreciation and think, oh, I can sell this and get something else or whatever. Like, just there were so many features about it that were so, um, what I'd always been looking for. And then the
Mm.
timing was just something that was, I can't even describe how perfect that was. And I can't describe how perfect that was for a variety of reasons, but the timing, it was the right product at the right time.
Yeah.
And that's really where the magic happens, I think.
Yeah. Perfect. And I can't agree with that sentiment more. And I've heard it over and over again. People saying the right time. Like, it's really cool to me that so many of us, it's like this aligned perfectly. Like, had it happened at any other time for me, I wouldn't have had the money at that time. Like, I wouldn't have had what I had at that time to put to gamble or to put into it. I was just like, how, like, how is this possible? And the fact that again, we are so early, and pulse chain's about to happen. Like, yeah, it's cool to hear that again, because it's not the first time I've heard that the timing was perfect, and that's so cool.
And I think it's important to recognize that with any vehicle. So just because real estate wasn't the right product for me at that time, or even
Hmm.
necessarily at this time, there's still, like, I've gained some experience in that area. And, I know what I know now. And I also know a lot of what I don't know. You never know
Right.
everything that you don't know, but I know a lot more. And so I'm open to the idea that at some point in the future, that might be, that the time might be right again. So just
Yeah.
because something doesn't, and that's, sort of a philosophy one, just because it doesn't work today doesn't mean it doesn't work forever. Like,
Right.
just shelf it, stick it on the shelf, revisit
Yeah.
it. Um, and yeah, and the universe, has a habit of helping you revisit things and when it is time, if there is
Hmm.
ever a time for it again, or they just fall to dust.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Yeah, absolutely. Sweet. So, second question is, what is a piece of advice you want to share with anyone who's just starting to look into crypto? Like, they've never heard of any of it. They don't know what blockchain is. Like, they maybe have heard of Bitcoin. Like, what's something that you like? If someone's just happened across this stream that was like, "Oh, woman crush," like, what would you say to them?
This is probably not going to be a big shock, but take your security seriously from day one. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter if you're only putting in, a few $100 or $1,000. You don't know with some of these projects, like, you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if that $1,000 is going to be worth, you know, 20,000, 100,000 or more down the line. And so if you don't set up that security piece right and maintain it from the beginning, then you're putting yourself on your heels. Like, and you're putting yourself in a situation where, okay, maybe it's not a big deal. You only invested what you could afford. But it's not gonna feel good. So just don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
don't put yourself in situations that open you up to, feeling icky. It's not a great way to,
Mm.
to be able to do more and have more in your life, of the good things, if you're busy putting out, fires of ickiness. So, um, I think that's the most important thing, is don't think just because it's a small amount of money that you can afford to lose today, that you should skip, the security measures. Take it seriously from day one.
Brilliant. That's great. I think that's the first time someone's actually like put the security part out there as the first thing to say. That's great because that's true. Like, you do never know. And there are tons for anyone watching who's like, what do you mean security for what? Like, there are tons of different resources out there. I know K4K just did a whole like it's like an hour long thing. Papa B, good old Papa Boner's got a great resources. I can't think. Can you think off the top of your head if there are any like website links or um, anything to kind of like lead someone to?
No, well, there's some, definitely you can go into the Telegram chats, that those, Papa
Right.
Boner and K4K. There's Hexagon security chats. You just remember to, protect, don't to give your seed phrase out,
Right. Don't
don't
give out your seed phrase. Yeah. No
talk
one's
shit
gonna
about
ask you for
OPSEC,
that.
OPSEC, OPSEC when you go into public forums. But you can sit back and listen. I'm a big
Right.
advocate of, sitting back and listening, for a while before you try to, overly process. I come from a financial background, but this is learning a new language. There's nothing
Yes.
like, I've spent the last solid year paying attention just to the conversations, just to digest the language. Like, some of the things that we talk about in crypto, the meanings are almost the exact opposite of what we use in legacy finance. It can be extremely confusing. So, not going to give any other security advice except to say, go to the people that are known experts, like you mentioned, Papa B and
Hmm.
K4K, are the people that definitely know more than I do.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and
Awesome. Yeah. I'm trying to think like, yeah, it's tough. It's tough because like I can't say like, like go to like there's anyways, maybe just Google security tips on crypto and just make sure that like there's a lot of really good resources out there. So definitely take that advice for sure. Appreciate
with
that.
the Hexagon community being a community, like a true community, we are very
Right.
fortunate. We have people that have put themselves out there and shared their knowledge with the community for free. I don't think that's typical. I really like,
Yeah.
I have, yeah, I mean, there's other assets on my radar in the crypto space, but there's not any
Mhm.
other communities.
Yeah, it really is. I love this community. It's so great. Like I just can't, again, the timing and the the serendipity, right? Like the not just serendipity, but the synchronicity, like all of that going on. Like the fact that not only is there the Hex community, right, itself, but for me on a personal level, having found Hex foodies within the Hex community, like there's a permaculture group. Like it blew my mind. And I know that as we grow as a community, that's going to keep happening, right? There's going to be even more specialized groups of people. Like there's a Texas group, there's a California group, like, it'll be location based, it'll be, music based, like whatever it is that you're into, there's probably a group of us in the Hexican community that are also into that. And I love that so much.
Absolutely. And so that's definitely a positive function of the expansion of the community is, the sub communities within it and more likely to find, a group of people that, resonates with you. And I mean, and I think diversity is, creates a healthy ecosystem. So the more diversity we have, I know that can be sometimes polarizing to listen to people who, say things that, make you bristle. But believe me, the diversity is a good thing. Like we want
Yeah,
this.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, my next question is, tell us about your content or the role that you feel that you play in the community.
Content. You know, I talk.
Mhm.
I go into spaces and I talk and I listen. I don't generate any content specifically right now. But as far
So you
as
spend time in the spaces and in the Twitter spaces?
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. I
Okay.
started doing that back in January, I guess. And that was really fun because that led to, more engagement in the real world when I was in Vegas. So one
Hmm.
of the things that I really advocate for is meeting up with your fellow Hexicans in person. Um, every time, every time I've done that, whether it was when Crypto Sparbuck came through my area or the first meetup in Vegas that I went to with my folks, before I even knew what the frick I was looking at or listening to, or even just this past March. My favorite thing is or visiting people. I
Mm.
visited CZ and Jay Z, Nessa Blue Jay and Big G. So those connections, I really love engaging with Hexicans in real life. But we're all spread out all over the world, so doing that in person all the time is not feasible. So I found that I like spaces because I can have conversations with Hexicans. Um, and sometimes a structured manner, sometimes an unstructured manner, and get to know people, and then meet them in person, which is fun. As far as my content, I guess I do have a bit of a narrative, I should say, when I speak.
Mhm.
um, Having been exposed to Hex, back when it was fractions of a penny, but also, not being, crypto retired, still working a day job and everything else. When I'm engaging with people who are newer, maybe they were onboarded in the summer, maybe they've had to sit and watch the price be down, which isn't always fun
Right.
from where they came in. It's just a reminder of like, just it's real important to, just maintain your, keep your expectations in check, and keep your head where your feet are.
Mm.
Um, you know, just, understand that, if you're here today and you're engaging with the community, that's a benefit in and of itself. Um, and we don't know what anything's going to do. I mean, we have great
Right.
reasons at this point. We have a track record to expect that things are going to be, looking very sunny for Hex over the horizon. But always keeping your focus out on what you're going to do when X, Y, and Z happens. You're disengaging yourself from your power in the moment.
Hmm. Yeah,
And so,
absolutely. And those, go ahead.
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, oh, and so, but actually, so, and while I'm doing that, I was sitting in spaces, I think, it was about a month ago, and I woke up like the next morning and I was like, I'm not set up. Like, I'm not set up to hold. Like I'm not practicing what I mean, I was practicing,
Mm,
but I wasn't doing what I preach. I
gotcha.
was looking, I was having a lot of, outside stressors that had me like, oh, if I could only do this, if I could only, if I could only, if I could only. And so I was like, I was looking at my strategy and I'm like, you're not doing what you need to be doing to,
Mm,
for your diamond hands or your graphite hands or to hold on for dear life. Like you need to get your mindset right and your actions, more aligned. And so by engaging with others, it also helps, it's kind of like that check and balance. It's kind of like having a workout buddy, right?
yeah.
Um, so it ended up turning back around on me and like, oh shoot, there's holes in my strategy. I need to go plug those.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just going to say that those Twitter spaces are like much more productive than I think people realize, because sometimes you can go in and out of them and like, people are kind of bullshitting here and there, but it's like any stream to me in a way, because especially the longer, like 3-4 hour streams, there's going to be a lot of like, just kind of talking about whatever, and things come and go in terms of conversation, but there's all of these really great like nuggets, like if you hang out in a space for a while, like I mean, I've been in some of these like later in the evening, and just I'm hearing people come into this space that they just clicked on the thing, like they didn't know what it was, they don't know what hex is, like, I heard several people get onboarded through a Twitter space the other night, and I was just like, this is, it's great. And I don't, so thank you for being there and being in those spaces, because I feel like that's kind of like this little like hidden gem within the community that not a lot of people are paying that much attention to, but it's really doing a lot of good. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks
And I
for
just,
doing what you do.
oh, well, you're welcome. And thanks to the regular hosts, Sequoia, Hexy, Cajun. I'm going to shout out the ladies. Obviously there's, Orca, who started it all, with the marathon. There's too many to list. There's my, some of my favorite people in their collector mind. Hi guys. Shout out to all of you and, just being there supporting me. Like I'll listen to it in the back. It's how I digest the language. So it's one of the, listen, I would just play it in the background while I was working. And it would help me think in terms of my day work, my day job, and crypto at the same time. So it had me, I was using one language here, and I was listening to the other language here, and it helped me merge them. So
Yeah.
for me, a lot of times I'll just be listening, and then some topic will come up, and I'll feel like maybe I've got something to contribute, or I'll have a question, or I'll have something to contribute to someone else's question, and then I'll pick up, I'll ask to pick up the mic. But that's the thing that's nice about it, is you can do it actively or passively. And either it really just depends on where your flow is and how you want to engage.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. So the next question is, please share a quote, mantra, saying, song, something that uplifts you, something that, just I like uplifting positive things in general. So I like when people can share something that, they kind of cling on to, that gives them a little like spark in their day.
Oh, so I thought about this, and I find it uplifting, but it's a little bit interesting. It
Okay.
comes from a lesson. So, but now it inspires me, and I think about it every day. And it's, one of the reasons why and I haven't today, partially because I've been trying to work through COVID, but I haven't done my Wildlife Wednesday today, but some of those aspects stem from it. So I don't know if you know what a skeleton racer is. It's an Olympic sport.
Oh,
Um,
yes, I saw this last Olympics. I saw them doing it. It's kind
yeah,
of like bobsled, but like more intense, way more intense,
it's
right?
insane. So basically
Yeah.
take like your old timey, sled, like your old timey wooden sled, take off the wood, turn it into basically like a Lamborghini version of that. Then stick your face down on the ice instead of like a luge where you're on your back. So take a Lamborghini version of an old timey, like, winter sled, stick your face down on the ice, and then go 90 miles an hour down a hill.
Woo!
Yeah, insane, right? So a few years ago, I was listening to, it was basically like a TED talk from her name is Noelle Pincus Pace, and she's an Olympic skeleton medalist. And she was sharing a story about one of her not so great runs. It was actually I can't remember if it was a world a championship cup or it was one of her Olympic trial runs. But she was talking about, like, she was on this new course and they were going through it, and the locals, they were in Germany, I think, and the local team were telling him, like, don't go there, don't see that wood, don't go there. And so as she's going down to do her trial run, she keeps looking. She's like, I don't want to go there, I don't want to go there, don't go there. And so of course, that's where does she go? Because she goes exactly there. And her
Yeah.
quote was, where you look is where you go. So, and that really, at the time that I heard it, I had just a lot going on.
Mm,
I was in a job I shouldn't have been in anymore. I was in a marriage I shouldn't have been in anymore. And I just felt like I had little fires everywhere. And so
mm,
when I was listening to her talk and I, I was hit with that saying, I was like, where am I looking? I instantly asked myself, where am I looking? And I'm like, I'm looking at a wildfire. Everything that I'm looking at is on fire. And I'm trying to save the individual trees. Like, this tree
mm.
needs this tree needs, I wasn't even trying to save them. I wasn't even possible to save them. I was just trying to keep them from, like, the fire's dull,
Yeah.
which is, it doesn't work. You can't do
Mhm.
that. But, being, really smart and highly capable and, stubborn as all get out, of course, my ego said I could. So I tried. No. So as
Yep.
soon as I heard that quote, I was like, I looked around and I had to make that very scary decision of, how do I save the forest? Well, first of all, what the frick is my forest? I've been so busy
Mm,
looking at burning
mhm.
trees. I don't even know what I want to save anymore. What's the forest? And then, what do I need to let go of and let burn so I can put my eyes back on the forest? So it was super motivational, and I did. Some things burned, and they needed to clear the way for other things that were better, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Failure is okay. If things aren't meant to survive, you need to let them go. It's okay. And it's not a reflection. It doesn't mean I'm less strong. It doesn't mean I'm less capable. It just meant that thing either wasn't right or it was at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And so when the morning, when I wake up, I ask myself, where am I looking? Because that's where you're going to go today. So where are you going to look this morning, Robin? It's morning. I'm waking up. I'm stretching. I'm having my coffee. I slept well. I didn't sleep well. I thought too much about work or something with my family the night before. It doesn't matter. I take my time over my coffee and I ask myself, where am I going to look today? And usually the first thing I do is I look outside the window and see if, sometimes I get the big critters and those are very exciting. Other times it's just the squirrels and the chipmunks making their nest. So, I'll take a look outside and I'll see, the beauty that's out there. Or I'll think about, regardless of whether or not I've got a rough day in the office or a rough day with my kids or a rough day with their dad or, whatever else, like, I'll find something that day that I'm going to do, that I'm going to look to, that's going to be where I want to go, where I want to go for the day. And ultimately, somehow it's going to lead to where I really want to go in the long term. The long-term goals I journal, but the short-term one is
Okay.
making sure that every day I'm looking where I want to go.
Got you. I love that. That's really well put.
I think
That sentiment, and I feel like that's actually something. Or where did I just saw this? Yeah. So this is something that Richard actually talks about in SciVibe, is
yes,
that
yes.
neurolinguistic programming, and it is super important that you're, again, like in a similar fashion, he talks about only focusing on that negative thing in so much that you just turn it into the positive. You only think about it for the moment that you're thinking, okay, how do I flip this to turn it into a positive thing? And yeah, super brilliant. Yeah, that's a real smart piece of advice
Oh
right
yeah,
there for sure.
that's spot on. So I was looking at my fires like they were bad. Instead of looking at my fires, the
Mm-hmm.
redwood forest would look at the fires. Like, okay, we
Mm,
got to clear out some of this debris, and these pine cones only hatch in certain conditions. So I was looking at it. It was such short term thinking. and you can't make a long-term plan, and you can't grow from that short-term thinking. So, I can't be a redwood, I can't
Yeah.
have a redwood forest if I'm only worrying about, the fires that are right in front of me. Yeah, spot on. And he does mention that. I think it was in chapter 3.
Mm-hmm. So another off the cuff question. You're the only one that I'm like, I'm gonna ask you everything. Where did Redbird come from? How did Redbird, the name, like, how did you choose that?
Oh, well, it's kind of my name.
Okay,
So,
okay. Like, you don't have to continue if you don't want to. I was just curious. I was like, is it like a cardinal or?
uh,
Okay,
no.
all right. Just part of your name. Okay,
Yeah. So I was
gotcha,
like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to use my name, but I'll use that name.
gotcha.
So it's just kind of how it went. And they're all over the place. So
Nice. Awesome. Okay. And then okay, so next question is, what is something that you love to do outside of the crypto space? Like, what's something that you're passionate about, or a hobby, or something else that's not hex?
it's I love critters, and I love engaging with the community. So
Yes,
I
goats,
use
baby
huh?
goats,
The baby goats,
baby
yes,
goats.
yes. That's one of the methods that I use to kind of merge the things that I love. And that's another thing that I do, that I've learned to do since I stopped, worrying about fires, is how to have, and also to keep my head, where my feet are, is to really incorporate, like, let's say my dream is to have a goat ranch, right? That sounds fantastic, right? It's not economically feasible for me right now. It's not feasible from a time standpoint. Like, I can't have a goat ranch, but I can volunteer for kidding season
Mm,
uh, at the local goat ranch. And the particular goat ranch that I volunteer for also supports refugees. And that's a community project that I'm passionate about. I am active in my community. A lot of that, seized a lot of what I used to do in the community, seized or changed over COVID, when I wasn't able
mhm,
to go to certain places anymore. Some of it's coming back, some of it's coming back a little bit differently. But so yes, I've been involved in animal rescue for pets. I do the kidding season at the goat ranch. I like to do things in the community, and I like there to be animals because animals are fun and cute and fuzzy, and they make me
yes,
smile. So,
I love that.
and
Yeah,
then I also really, huh?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I also really, really love and this goes back to conversations I was having with Dad about 2018, back in 2018, is, cryptocurrency has a really unique capacity potentially to help people in refugee situations, to help
Mm,
people that are living under, totalitarian regimes, to help people that are living without freedom. So at some point, down the line, when I'm able to, well, now that I'm able to engage with the community in a more physical capacity again, and I'm learning more about crypto in general, down the line, I would like to merge my love of crypto with my love of, or my desire to see what can be done to support refugees and other people who are living without
awesome.
freedom.
That is badass for sure. Very cool. Yeah, I was gonna say I worked on a farm in the past, and that was my favorite part. Was just like taking care of the chickens and the goats and baby goats, and animals are wonderful. And then I don't know if you saw this comment, but I'm gonna read this out loud. It says, "Redbird, we have robin redbreasts in Australia, and they are the most intelligent birds."
Wow, I didn't know that about
There you
them.
go. Super cool. Yes, baby goats.
So
Baby
yeah,
goats
baby
are the
goats,
best.
huh?
Just the baby goats are the best. They are.
Baby goats are the best. Like, baby goats are seriously the best. Like,
Have
if
you
you,
ever had them like walk on you?
yes,
Yeah, it's the
yes,
best thing ever. Like little goat massage. Like,
yeah, yeah. Like, I'll just sit down sometimes in the babies.
mm,
Like, if a mom is not like birthing, and nature takes its course most of the time. This has actually been a really rough season. We had a lot of trips and quads. So
wow.
like, yeah, and like a normal, like, healthy birth is usually like, you know, everyone comes out diver position, and you get two healthy kids.
Right.
When you get more of the trips and especially the quads, you end up with stillbirths, you end up with complicated deliveries. And so it's been a really strange season, and everybody birthed really early, and our winter's went a little crazy. It decided to come later. So like it snowed yesterday.
Dang.
so,
Wow.
so we've had a lot of babies born in blizzards, and it's been a little sporty. But yes, so one of the it's a working ranch. So the utility for the goats is, oftentimes they use them for grazing. They'll eat the stuff that the cattle don't want. So during fire season, they'll take them down to the ranches, the big cattle ranches around here, and they'll graze them to help for wildfire abatement. And then also this year they're going to incorporate goat yoga. So
That is excellent.
And like that's another thing I love. I love yoga. So if I can have goats and yoga, like just
Yes.
it's
Yeah, I've seen that offered.
I know.
What was that?
Check.
Yes, all the things. Awesome. All right. And okay, so I put on the thumbnail and in the description of this video your handle. So that is where we can find Redbird. I was like, that's one of the questions is where can we find you? Social media links, but we'll find you in Twitter Spaces and on Twitter. And go ahead and tell us what your handle is for Twitter.
Oh, I'm at Redbird10x on Twitter, and that's my only public social media thing I've got going on right now. So
perfect.
I like to walk before I run. In some places, unless it's I don't know. I did decide to go bungee jumping to cure my fear of heights. That didn't work, by the way. I don't recommend that. It's like, okay, you're afraid of heights. You're good. Just go back. Chairlifts don't bother me, but I'm never jumping out of a perfectly good airplane, and I will not climb up a bungee tower ever again.
Okay. Good to know. All right. I'm just gonna say hi to a couple people again. Hello to the chat. This is I do kind of announce this, but this isn't really a chat active. Like I don't really do a lot of the question answer in the chat because for me this stream is all about my guests. This is all about Redbird. So that's how we focus on here. We are almost at the end of our stream. As a matter of fact, the last question, our bonus question is, what do you love the most about Richard Hart or Sci-Vive?
Oh, so it's got to be, I'll go with the first part. So it's got to be the, well, first of all, the fact that he wrote sci-fi. I mean, who does that? Like, I don't see other crypto founders, thinking that deeply about, what about their creations, first of all. And then you can tell that was a predecessor to the creation, intended or not intended, because here we are with an ecosystem. And that's what we have. It's not just a product or a project or a program. It's an entire ecosystem, which takes. We've got parts that are very valuable, but now we're putting them together in a fashion that that elevates it all, and I think that's just fascinating and wonderful. The other the other thing I would say is, and it came to me, like, it's this community. Like, it was fun being able to chat with him on stream last Friday was super fun. And that was my burning question. Like, when you were building, Hex and it was time locked and it had certain features we now know, or we now suspect helped create this community. Like, did you expect that? And his answer was no, but here we are. And I think that what's really fascinating about him is that because of the way that he thinks about things, we end up with more than what we expect.
Absolutely.
And how can you not love that? Like, how can you? I'm like, pretty much when you get more than what you expect, most people are just satisfied when their expectations are met. When things exceed your expectations, it's easy to love them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Super cool. Well, thank you so much, Redbird. I appreciate your time and your energy. Definitely like makes me want to try and, tune into Twitter Spaces a little bit more, and hear the nuggets of gold that you give out. Because I mean, I've heard over and over. I mean, I don't know if you've heard this from people, but I hear often how smart and intelligent you are, and like when you speak, like people want to listen. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for everything that you do and contribute to this community. Y'all follow her on Twitter, look for her little icon on those Twitter Spaces, and get in there for sure.
Thanks so much for having me. Thank you, chat. It's great to see you all, and I look forward to chatting with everybody again soon. And and when goat yoga happens, I'll message you. You need to come out and join me.
Yes, absolutely. I do want to bring up one other thing real quick. I don't like to like show things and stuff, because again, it's usually about my guests. But there is a big thing coming up soon that Inviting Freedom is doing Hex Arbor Day.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and that's coming up. Let me see if I can find any more info, because I feel really terrible that I don't. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to link the Hex Foodies YouTube stream that she was on talking about it. Or actually, it was, it's a big group of Hex Foodies. So that is where y'all can find some more info. Also follow Inviting Freedom to get more information about that. I want to say it's like the 13th or 14th. It's like next week. I'm pretty sure it's coming up real soon. So I apologize. I was not prepared. I just know that May 7th. Oh, wait,
this
that's
weekend.
much sooner. Okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
May 7th. Basically what we're doing, and what they're encouraging people to do is to go out and plant a tree, and on May 7th, on Arbor Day, in the name of Hex, basically, and that you're gonna see that tree grow for the next 15 years. Here we go. So here's, yeah, TikTok Crypto's got some info. Planting apple trees for generational wealth. And I love that. I would highly encourage everyone to plant a fruiting tree. As a foodie myself, I think it's really important that where trees are planted, food grows. So yeah, and that food, I mean, that's the thing with a lot of fruit trees. They take a lot of time to produce fruit. So you are delaying your gratification, and you eventually get to see the fruit of your labor, like for real. So I think that's a beautiful sentiment. I'm just so glad to be a part of that as well. And yeah, y'all, thanks again. Thank you, chat. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks, everyone on the replay. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, and may the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, SJ.
You're very welcome. Bye.